Welcome to Big Blend Radio's Toast to the Arts Show, where we celebrate books, music, visual, and the performing arts. Welcome, everyone. August 13th is a big day because it means another book is out by Matt Cost. You can go to his website, mattcost.net. He's written numerous books, a lot of mysteries, and a lot of history. And he is here today to tell us about his new book out today called Glow Trap. And this is part of his Clay Wolfe Port Essex Mystery series. So welcome back, Matt. How are you?
I'm fantastic. Doing very well, Lisa. Good to chat with you.
Yeah. You love the summer, don't you?
It's gorgeous up here in Maine, I'll tell you that.
Oh, man, we're going to make it there. We are going to make it there, I swear. But we're coming in summer because I feel like it might be a little cooler. Might be really, I've heard that August in Maine is like the time. July and August.
July and August are pretty nice months. They get a little hot for me. I like the shoulder seasons a little better. 60 degrees works better than 80 for me, as I've told you before.
Yeah, I know. All right. Well, listen, Glow Trap, because that's got a little heat to it. That's a good name. I want to hear about that and why. But let's start with the actual series. How many do you have in the series? And if you want to give everyone an overview, so for those who are new.
This is the sixth book in the Clay Wolfe Trap series. The first book was Wolf Trap and started Clay Wolfe and his colorful cast of friends off, and was followed by Mind Trap, Mouse Trap, and Cosmic Trap, and Pirate Trap. And now we have the final Clay Wolfe Trap book.
Final?
Clay Wolfe is done and over. And so this is the
conclusion. Killing them off?
There might be a twist coming in the future in life that I can't give away. But Clay Wolfe is done and gone, if not dead.
You know, wow, this happens, doesn't it? Do you get ever like antsy about writing a series and then go, okay, it's time to stop? Like you don't want it to lose its charm.
This is the first series that I am officially drawing to an end, and we'll have to see how it plays out. I have some trepidation about doing that, but I have some other things in the works that made it seem like it would be a good idea to end the Clay Wolfe Trap series.
Now, Glow Trap, I had to Google that, and it seems like there's something to do with fishing. What is a glow trap?
Well, it was going to be glowies, and the term glowy was given to, by themselves, groups like the Proud Boys and the white supremacist groups.
This is not fishing.
No. And this is where the term glowy came from. What would happen is the government would send officials to infiltrate them to kind of get the lowdown on what bad things they were doing. But these people always stood out because no matter how hard they tried, they could not be as reprehensible as some of these people were, and just racist and misogynists and coarse language and things like that. So these groups started calling these infiltrators glowies because they stood out. Now, what we're going to have in Port Essex is three people from away who stand out and have sort of come together and gathered together and become friends because they don't quite fit into Port Essex. One is a man who's in the WITSEC program, Witness Relocation, with the U.S. Marshals. He was a former Red Pole or enforcer for the 14K Triad in L.A. And another is a former art thief who made, caboodles of money stealing art, and then changed her identity and moved to a small coastal Maine town. And the final one is a former CIA spy who has retired and moved to Port Essex. And so the three of these people kind of create the nucleus of the story that we're going to move forward into.
Wow. So the art thief is really fascinating to me because it's like, how do you get away with it? And I'm seeing a lot of it in literature. A lot of people write about it because I think it's really fascinating on how you actually steal the piece of art, whether it's a painting. Good luck with sculpture. That's not easy, but doing that, right? And then how do you get it out there through the black market? Because the people who have the money for that, are they going to be able to show it off? You know what I mean? So it's a very interesting thing of that. Did you have to do some good research about art thieves and
Do a
mastering
fair-
thievery?
I did do a fair amount, and a few art thieves that were never caught, and a few art thieves that were caught. And sometimes it's as simple as walking into a small museum in a small French village that has some expensive paintings on the wall and taking a knife and cutting it off on the canvas and walking out the door with it. So there were art thieves that made millions and millions of dollars in that simple process. And then, of course, there's the more complicated, avoiding the lasers and, things like we see on the movies, where the art thieves, come down on pulleys and ropes and things
Yeah,
like
yeah,
that.
that's always fun.
And
Yeah, it's fascinating.
and then, of course, it takes money to make money, whether you're in business or an art thief. So if you have money and you have the connections to move this product, you're much better off than if you don't have the connections.
Fun stuff. Yeah, because sometimes I always wonder about that. We cover a town in New Mexico, Silver City. It's an art community. And there was a couple that bought in like an antique collectibles shop. And they had this painting, they were just going through their inventory, kind of new business. Lo and behold, it was a stolen painting that was in the store. And it turned into a documentary, but it was this famous painting. And our friend Victoria, she's like, girls, you need to go down there and get that interview. But some timing thing just didn't happen with us traveling and stuff. But that would have been cool to find out how that, because then wouldn't you be scared? Like, I've got the stolen painting. That's a scary thing.
And maybe spawning out of this art thief who has a small role in this book, the draft of the book that I just recently finished that won't be out for a couple more years, Bob Chicago Investigates, has to do with a katana, a very famous Japanese sword that went missing after World War II and ends up in Maine in my fictional account of it, and follows along the lines of, what you were just talking about, the people you knew who discovered a stolen painting on their wall.
It's like, it's like, do we tell? Do we not? What do we do? Burn it? But no. That's a crazy story. So I always love that about what you do is it's got to be fun about who you place with who in your books, because they're characters. They're true characters. You know what I mean? That you put together. So do you kind of like, not necessarily paint a picture, but do you go like, here's a character here, like who would make this person stand out more, because they have to balance off each other for the reader, right?
Yeah, absolutely. But what is the question?
About balancing your characters, how you put them together as just in each book, it's like, here's my cast of characters and how they get together to either steal or do good or solve a crime,
I mean, in my series, of course, the good guys, the protagonist in this, Clay Wolfe and his, partner, Bailey Baker, and their receptionist, Crystal Landry, and Westy and Cloutier and Murphy, they come back every book. So, I've kind of got a good rhythm with them. But then the one and offs, the ones that come in, like these three glowies, are kind of fun to create and pull together. Originally, the idea was something to do with spies on the coast of Maine, because years ago I heard that there is a very strong spy community in Camden, Maine, of retired U.S. spies and CIA agents and things like that. Unfortunately, Tess Gerritsen beat me to the punch and brought that book out a year ago. So I twisted my idea a little bit and made it just one spy, along with a WITSEC program person and an art thief. So I thought that made it even more interesting to bring these three people from such different backgrounds and make them meld together.
Now, the book has a dead body. Am I right on this?
You are. Things are kind of quiet in Port Essex. As a matter of fact, Clay Wolfe decides to go ahead and agree to have a documentary film team come in and make a documentary about him because of his last case finding or looking for pirates' treasure in Port Essex. And somewhere in the middle of all that documentary making, a body washes up on the shores of Port Essex that looks like an accidental drowning. And he has the identification of a man named Donald Moore. And then his brother shows up, who knew Clay Wolfe's father. and said, that dead man is my brother, and his real name is Peter Angel. This is Peter Angel. His real name is Donald Angel, and he worked for the CIA. And that sort of, and hires Clay to investigate what really went down here. And this kind of starts us off and running.
Wow. Dead bodies are always cool. I mean, not that way. Like we don't, I mean, it's just, there's no way anything could just be normal, right? Here's an accidental drowning. It has to have something sinister. Now, does he always play devil's advocate when something like that happens that seems innocent? Everybody's like, oh, that's just, somebody drowned and it's really sad. And does he always go, well, I bet you we should check the other side, like on things?
He was taking it at face value at first until the man's brother showed up and hires him to investigate and says his name was not Donald Moore. It was Donald Angel, and he was my brother, and he worked for the CIA. And at that point, Clay says, yeah, there's something going on here, you know. We're willing to investigate this. And we start twisting in some other themes. Another man goes missing and he gets hired to find them. And, meanwhile, the documentary film is being made. And then it's uncovered that it's possible that what he's believed since 8 years old, that his parents died in a car accident, leaving him an orphan, was actually murder. And he has an idea presented to him of who might have murdered his parents and made it look like an accident, changing his whole scope of what he's thought all of his life. Wow. So it's a very, very twisty book for the final book in the Clay Wolfe saga.
Wow. So, you got to make it a biggie, but you said there's a potential, something could change in the future. So you're just letting that linger? Are you putting that at the back of the book? Like, this is the end, but stay tuned. You never know what could, happen. Just when you thought it was safe to go out on the water?
I don't say it's the end in the book, and I don't say something else might be coming down, but you might have to read future books of mine to find out which direction things actually went.
So this is number 17 or 18?
This will be my 18th published book.
Wow. That's accomplished. You know what I mean? That's a lot of books. And it's not like nonfiction. I know you've done a lot of historical work too, but this is fictional, which means it's, a lot of work. I think they're both a lot of work, but you know what I mean? This is
nonfiction can be an intense amount of work of, which and amassing the data. I've done this in the last 5.5 years. I've published 18 books. And I'm in a pretty good rhythm now where I write every day. And most days I have to edit 1 to 3 other books while I'm writing one new book. As you alluded to, I'm usually doing 3 or 4 events per week of getting out and doing a cost talk or a book signing. The night before last, I did a cost talk at a local library. Tomorrow I'll be at a bookstore. The next day I'm doing a reading at the East Madison Days Festival, which is where I grew up, the tiny little town of East Madison.
Cool. Hey, well, gee, I feel like we need happy hour. You're tiring me out. But if you really love it, it's cool. You know what I mean? And I think for writers, half of the work, yes, you're writing it, then the publishing, and then you have to let people know you've written it. That's a huge amount of work that I think authors forget and that readers may not realize how much goes into one.
And it's something that I enjoy immensely is the variety of it all. I wouldn't want to just write every day, all day, It's really nice to get out and talk to people such as yourself or at a library or out on the sidewalk of a bookstore or whatever it may be. I'm actually teaching a workshop in September calling the 6 Hats of a Writer, which is the 6 different things that you have to be prepared to do if you want to be a writer. And only one of them is write.
Well, that's the thing. I mean, and I think if you're not connected with your audience, this helps you with feedback that's genuine. Like it's more of a conversation. So does that help you learn how people take in information and actually read? Because I know you're writing with what you want to write. It's not like your audience tells you go write something. Like artists, there's commissions for artists, right? We're back to art again, but it's got to be your thing.
And there are people that chase the trends and things like that, and I've never heard that to be incredibly successful. I think the only way to be successful is be true to yourself and hopefully you catch the attention of others. But I can't change who I am or what I write to try and, interest somebody. Reviews come in and you have to have a thick skin on that. Most of my reviews are good, but there's going to be people that don't like my books, and that's fine. I understand that. Not everybody likes everything.
Some people don't like me. I'm going to go eat some worms, but they better be gummy worms.
I was going to say, some people don't like anything. So those
I know. Oh my gosh,
don't like you.
Yeah. It's just, you can't, you'll be chasing your tail like a puppy, if you try to appease everybody. You can't do that. But, well, congratulations on 18. You're going to be a young adult officially with your books, So I love that. Congratulations. August 13th is a good day. I believe it's not Friday the 13th, right? That would be a good day to release a book, Friday the 13th. Now we're all like, what day is that? No.
That would have been my mainly wicked book, which was indeed very wicked.
Yeah, really. Very cool. Well, thank you so much, Matt. Is there anything else on the horizon that people should know? Because I know you're not, you're not busy.
No, I think that's, going to be it for published books this year, changing publishers. So I got back into a pipeline that takes a while to spit them back out, but I'll be back to 3 books next year and moving forward. So this year, it's going to only be 2 published books, the first time in 5 years.
Still good. I still think that's amazing, Thank you so much, everyone. MattCost.net is the website to go to. And while you're there, just go get the whole series and start at 1 and go all the way through. That'll be cool. And you know what? I know it's August, but holiday season is coming. And so there's 18 books. And I know you've got 18 people you need to buy things for. So there it is. All right. Thanks, Matt.
Thank you, Lisa. Great chatting as always.
Thanks for listening to Big Blend Radio's Toast to the Art Show. Please keep up with us at bigblendradio.com and keep up with Big Blend magazines at blendradioandtv.com.